greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. God versus man. Day versus night.
You're psychotic.
That is a three-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
What's up world, Revo here. Just got done watching Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, for the second time. Yep, you heard me right. The second time. So this film for me has been beyond light years ahead of the theatrical version. So if you guys have seen the theatrical version, don't expect me to review that particular film, because that is a completely different film from this one. Okay, so Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, has just come out on digital streaming, digital purchase on Amazon, iTunes, wherever you can find it. And this movie is fantastic. There's no other way for me to put it. It's amazing. It's a real upgrade from the regular theatrical version. And one thing that I really want to talk about, really want to put it out there, is that this film is completely different from the theatrical version. And that is weird to say, because most of the core elements of the theatrical version are obviously there. Obviously, most of the stuff that you have already seen is the majority of the film. But why is this version different from the theatrical version? Well, this film, the Ultimate Edition, has 30 minutes of extra footage, and those 30 minutes aren't just from like 2-3 scenes. They're throughout the film. It's different, particular small scenes throughout the film that end up, you know, explaining how Superman couldn't save the people from the explosion that Lex put. It wasn't because Superman just was like, oh, I just wasn't looking. Like, the theatrical version didn't go into detail, and it didn't have that explanation where Lois finds out, oh, it's lead. Lex Luthor made the bomb enticed with lead, which made Superman unable to view it, which in turn made it seem like Superman wasn't trying to save them, which was not true. Superman just couldn't see the bomb. And so there's little bits and pieces like that where in the film it starts explaining different stuff about you know, just the overall story and overall plots that, you know, I had a lot of issues with in the theatrical version. I did enjoy the theatrical version. I don't want to go too in detail on it. I had a good time with it. Like I said in one of my previous videos, it was enough of the story that I could understand. But this Ultimate Edition, man, I mean, watching the theatrical version and then coming out of the theater, like I knew that they had cut out chunks of this film. You could just sense it by the way the theatrical version was edited. You could tell that they were tinkering with this movie. And this 3-hour version is so raw, like literally raw. Like everything is placed perfectly. Everything makes sense. Yes, there are some plot holes. Why is Lex Luthor trying to... There's different stuff that is still there, but those are just become minor nitpicks in the grand scheme of a 3-hour film, because there's so many good things that happen in this film. One of the big positives for me that changed this film and made it completely different from the theatrical version is the fact that they put on a lot more emphasis on Clark Kent, Superman. There was a lot more scenes with Clark Kent. I remember fans pointing out the fact that Clark Kent in the theatrical version probably only had like 6 lines, something like that, some in between, something like that. But this little amount of lines in this film, he gets to really we see him go to Gotham. We see him try to figure out what's the motivation for this Bat vigilante in Gotham. Why is he branding people? Why does he think he's above the law? And Superman really wants to get into the core of that. Clark Kent really wants to go into his investigation mode and tell Perry that, yo, we need to be putting this on paper. We need to be talking about this, not all those sports, not all those the irrelevant stuff that everybody finds out either way. And so that was awesome to see. Why? Because it made me care about Clark Kent. It made me care about Superman, his character. And they put there are just some scenes in here that I like watching the film. I was just like, why would you cut this out? What, like, Warner Brothers, if you're watching this, if you're like listening to the fans, the overwhelming positive reviews that this Ultimate Edition is getting is incredible. Okay, most of the people that didn't like the theatrical version, ended up loving this version, or just liking it more than the theatrical version, or just accepting the fact that it deserved the 3 hour. The 3 hour edition is really what the film needed. And so, man, Warner Brothers, again, there is no problem with your DC, with the DC cinematic universe that you created. There is no problem with the tone. The tone is not the issue. It was a story thing. It was an editing thing that ended up making Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice something that people could not. It wasn't the epic that Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, really is. It's a 3 hour epic. It really is. Like, the third act of this film really holds much more weight when you are invested in the characters, which you are in this version. Because, again, like I said before, you care about Clark Kent. That relation. Clark Kent has a scene where he wakes up his mom. He calls him because he's having issues dealing with humanity. He doesn't know how to deal with like everybody rejecting him as their hero. So he calls his mom. He's like, and his mom's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he's like, "Hi." He just wants someone to talk to. Like, you know, this is a guy who does have emotions, and it's yes, he's a godlike figure. You know, that whole false god thing kind of messed him up. Like what you could tell just by the way that Henry Cavill was acting as Clark Kent in the scenes that we finally got to see. You could tell that he was disturbed by this. You could tell that Superman, when he left, it wasn't because, oh, he's just mopey, whatever. It's just like, it's actually because he was trying. Like, he's trying to be the Boy Scout. He's trying to give everybody hope. He's trying to make sure that people understand that negativity will not prevail. But sometimes when you have the whole world hating you, you got to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And so it sets up this beautiful scene with when he goes into this mountain, and he has like this vision of his father there, and his father gives him this intense story about how his wife is his world, and I think it for the audience and for the character, it gave perspective of Lois Lane's importance and the character development of Clark Kent, and how he realizes, this is my world. I deserve to be like, I am Superman. I want to have this world. I want to protect it. I want to shine the light that is the hope of Krypton that was embroidered in me. And so that was really dope. That's the Superman that everybody wants to see. The way I always view this Superman, I know this is going a little bit off topic, but the way I see this Superman is almost like the Boy Scout trapped in a negative world that doesn't let him become the real Boy Scout, and doesn't let him prove how good the world can be. That's how I see this Superman. He's trapped in this world, and Batman is like, at the end, he's like, I failed him in life, but I won't fail him in death. At the end of the scene, he says that, and you can tell that was a clear indication that Superman has impact on this world, that his death, it was a necessity. Honestly, it needed to happen. Why? Because he's living in such a negative world, and it's a reflection of our world. Like, if Superman existed today, imagine how many people would be like, what is that? Like, why bright colors? Like, what? Blue and red, is this dude like serious, or is he serious? Like, we would ridicule him. That would really happen. And so to see that in the film was really, really, really powerful. And so it made it so much more relevant to me. And I mean, I always saw it since Man of Steel. I saw that relevance there, that, like, you know, if Superman existed, people would reject him. They would say, look, why is this guy all powerful? What's up with this? Like, who is it? Like, you know, like, a bunch of questions would rise. And so you see that in this in this film a lot more, and it becomes a lot more important and a lot more in the forefront because you get more scenes of Clark Kent. Literally, it's crazy how much 30 minutes can change a film. But if 30 minutes is not just 2 scenes, but scenes throughout the whole entire film that end up molding it together and making it coherent and fluid, it changes the film completely. And you could tell that this was Zack Snyder's 3-hour epic. And so that's why when a lot of people started hating on Zack Snyder because of after the theatrical release, I was like, man, I give this guy some credit. Like, get off his back, you know? Like, this dude is he's bringing the whole universe in one film. He's trying to, like, he's introducing Wonder Woman. He has these cameos. He's bringing in a whole new Batman. He's got to upgrade the Superman that he already created, and he's got to, you know, there's a lot of toys to play with, and a lot of areas that you could mess up. So of course this movie's not going to be perfect. Okay, there's a lot of things to juggle, but this Ultimate Edition, man, it's near perfect for me, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. There's little nitpicks again of the story that kind of like some little plot twists that I end up forgiving, but overall, man, if I had to rate this movie, I know I said I wasn't going to review the theatrical version, but just as a comparison, the theatrical version for me, if I had to rate it out of 10, I would give it like a 7. A 7. I enjoyed it. It was good, but it wasn't the legendary movie that I wanted it to be. Now this Ultimate Edition completely changed. Like, it's so... Man, I wanted to see more. Coming out of that theater of the theatrical version, I knew there was something missing. I knew that I was just like, I knew that there was more that I wanted to see. I knew that there was more there, and seeing more, being able to understand it a little bit more and get more depth and more character development. It changed from a 7 to this film, the Ultimate Edition. I would give it a 9. Probably 9 or 9.5, but out of 10, that's what I would give it. It's just that good. I mean, like, you need to see this film. If you haven't seen the theatrical version, why? Because it got a lot of bashing. If you see the Ultimate Edition, I promise you will enjoy it. It's really, really dope. The only thing that might turn some people off is that it's rated R, and yes, you do see some blood, you do see some gory stuff, you do see, it's not as gory as, let's say, Daredevil Netflix series where you see Punisher, like, blood all over his face. It's not that gory, but you do see blood, you do see murder, you do see a lot more of that. There's a scene where one of the African ladies that goes early in the film to testify against Superman and says that he was the real cause of the African incident, that's why so many people died, was because of him. Turns out she was lying. Turns out she was being paid. She was being not even paid, like threatened by Lex Luthor and his goons to be like, hey, you gotta say this, I'm gonna write it down for you, just say it word for word, that's what you need to say. Prove to everyone that Superman is a big liar, that Superman needs to be put on this pedestal to show everyone how fake he is. And that's what Lex Luthor's whole goal was to show everyone that Superman does not deserve all the power, because you could tell that the way Jesse Eisenberg was performing as Lex Luthor, you can tell that he had a little, like, something wrong with him, where, like, every time he mentioned the whole idea of power and knowledge and, like, that whole paradoxical thing, it struck a nerve with him, and you could see that he wants the power that Superman has. He's jealous of that. You can just tell that he wants that power, and so he almost sees it as like I gotta show everyone that this dude sucks so that I could be the top dog, pretty much. And so if he can take out Batman and Superman at the same time, like, you know, that was his end goal. And so going back to that lady who testified against Superman, later she ends up going to the senator and saying, yo, I lied. Everything that I said, I lied, and you need to know this. Going into this second trial, you need to know this information. And then after that, when she goes back on a train and Lois Lane is coming, they cross roads. Lois Lane is coming back from the train. She's going down the train stairs, and then fast forward, and then she's by the train, and one of the Lex Luthor's goon, one of his main goons, comes by, gets her on the back, and while this train is coming, he pushes her and murders her right there. Like right there, she gets dead by that train. Head, like body, everything. Oh my gosh, that was, oof, had me cringing when I saw it the first time. I was just like, oh my goodness. It ended up, it was those also scenes where you get explanation of Lex Luthor's diabolical scheme, which makes him and his character, it gives him a lot more, I want to say, menace. It makes him seem more of the villain, whereas like in the theatrical version, you get that he's the puppet master, you get that he's making Superman, Batman fight, but you don't necessarily understand why. You don't necessarily understand the full scheme of his plan and everything. In this film, you do. They give you enough to understand completely how Lex Luthor was being diabolical and how he just wanted power. That's something that Superman had that he doesn't. So that was incredible. And yeah, like I said before, this film is a complete upgrade. It's completely different from the theatrical version. I just wanted to do this review because it was so good. I was blown away by how much 30 minutes ended up changing and fixing it and ending up making it so the epic that I wanted it to be. If you guys don't know, I'm a DC fanboy. I'm gonna be honest about that straight up. I love DC and I want to see them shine. I want to see these characters, just like the Avengers right now, are getting their due. I want to see these characters get their due, and I want to see Justice League be right. So with all that being said about the Ultimate Edition, Justice League is filming, and it's in pre-production, about to film right now. Man, I'm telling you, there is no tone problem. The Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition had no issue with tone, nothing. It was just all editing and some story issues. If they can just solve those story issues and fire whoever edited the theatrical version of the regular Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, then you're all good. You don't have to make it lighthearted like Marvel. You don't have to make it jokey like Marvel and be like, oh look, we're fixing it, y'all. We're making it different. You don't have to, like, the tone was, there's nothing wrong with the tone. So Warner Brothers, if somebody can make Warner Brothers watch this, like, nothing wrong with the tone. Stick with your tone. I love the tone, okay? Just make some characters a little bit more lighthearted, like the Flash. I love that you're doing that, but stick with it. There's nothing wrong with the tone. Just fix your story, all right? Fix your story and fire that editor. Whoever that editor was, fire him. So yeah, Batman v Superman, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, was dope. 9.5 out of 10. It was just, you need to watch this film. It comes out, you should own it on Blu-ray. I would suggest. I think people are, this is one of those movies that when you look back on, you're gonna realize that this Ultimate Edition was really well done, well crafted, and you could tell that Zack Snyder's vision was a legendary one. So that's it for today. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at RevxArt. That's RevxArt. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys watched that film.